For over a decade, I have been using apple cider vinegar in the morning. I've been using it for a number of reasons, and I've ridden the waves of people saying that it's witch doctor science, and I've ridden the waves of people saying it works better than anything for fat loss. Does it magically make you burn fat? No, it's not that. And yeah, it does influence your blood sugar levels, which could certainly have an impact, but now we have new science understanding directly what it's doing. We're understanding at a genetic level, at an enzymatic level, what acetate is doing. Because when you consume apple cider vinegar, it's getting converted into a dissociated state into acetate within the body. So I'm going to share with you a brand new study that illustrates such a strong point. And after today's video, I put a link down below for 50% off of Create's Stick Pack Creatine. Only monk fruit, creatine in a patented CreaPure version, and some flavors. That's it. So it's purely easy to consume creatine, and at 50% off, you're talking like 70 cents a serving or something ridiculously inexpensive. So that link and that price is only available to people that watch my channel. So try Create's Stick Pack Creatine. They have a berry flavor, they have a lemon lime flavor. You can consume this first thing in the morning and it doesn't break a fast. I consume it throughout the day, so I have a couple stick packs per day because I try to get about 10 grams of creatine in per day. So that link down below, that offer is not going to last forever as well. It's just a temporary thing to really get the interest on their new flavors and new stick packs. So link down below. So to understand, this isn't talking about glucose modulation. This is talking about a major driving thing with apple cider vinegar and overall sugar intake. So the study that we're looking at was published in Gastroenterology. It had a mouse arm and a human arm. Essentially what they found is that there's a gene variant, right, that some of these humans have and mice have. And so what they found with this study is that when sugar is consumed and this enzyme or this gene is not present, right, or it's knocked out, sugar would drive acetate levels up really high. What does this really mean? Well, we know from other research that when you give, particularly rodents, pure acetate, it completely abolishes their sugar cravings. They consume less sugar. Now we know from other evidence as well, published in Nature Communications, that acetate crosses through the blood-brain barrier and then actually influences the GABAergic system, so it makes you more calm. GABA influences GLP-1. Okay, so there's all these things. This isn't wraparound like random science. This is real stuff. Apple cider vinegar disassociates into acetate when it's in our body. So when we consume apple cider vinegar, we're getting one of the most concentrated, potent forms of acetate that we really could consume. I mean, you can consume dairy, you can consume eggs, which are going to drive up acetate. They have acetate in them. You can consume fermented things like kimchi or sauerkraut juice or kombucha. That's going to have acetate in it. But when you're looking at apple cider vinegar, it is quite literally one of the most potent ways that you could consume acetate. So we're now seeing in this research that acetate is a characteristic, higher levels of acetate are a characteristic of the people, and the rodents in this case, that do not consume as much sugar. So when you are this type of person that has maybe this gene variation, about 15% of people have this gene variation where they just actually don't crave as much sugar, one of the main differentiating factors mechanistically within their body is that when they consume sugar, it produces acetate that makes them basically stop eating sugar. So acetate kills our sugar cravings. So this whole thing with like apple cider vinegar being like, I have it in the morning and it makes my fast easier, or I have it in the morning and it makes me not want to eat carbs. I have it in the morning and I feel like I lose weight. We're not crazy. There is a potential impact here. So there's even evidence from this gastroenterology study when you extrapolate it to basically say, hey, consume things that are going to drive up acetate in the body a little bit more. This is putting you into more of an AMPK state. It's putting you into somewhat of a deficit. And when you go into that deficit, you might end up craving less sugar. And the less sugar that you consume, the more you downregulate the enzyme that makes you want sugar in the first place. So what we're ultimately finding based upon this gastroenterology study with, again, a rodent model arm and a human arm, is that A, consuming less sugar is going to physically make you consume less sugar, but B, driving up acetate and driving up GLP-1 subsequently are a huge, huge piece of killing the sugar cravings. The other thing that was really fascinating about this study that's really important and probably would resonate with a lot of people given the rise and boom of Ozempic and GLP-1, they found that when mice did not have this gene, that when they consumed sugar, they had a more potent response and a release of GLP-1. This is interesting because the mice that didn't have the gene variant did not have a huge increase in GLP-1 after sugar consumption. What this tells us is that this same gene variant that we're talking about with like acetate and everything also made it so that sugar would satiate them more, so they wouldn't need as much. Now, no one's gonna fault you if you have some sugar. Thing is that what you don't wanna have happen is have the sugar and then have this neurobiological drive to have more sugar and more sugar and more sugar. Have the sugar and end it. Have the sugar and have enough GLP response to attenuate glucose and ultimately curb your appetite. So it all kind of goes hand in hand, and it comes back to, again, that entire piece of how acetate can also go into the brain and influence the GABAergic system, which then influences GLP-1. GLP-1 and GABA, the neurotransmitter in our brain, are closely tied together. So not only are we talking about reducing sugar intake, we're potentially talking about reducing intake overall too. So not just sugar, but overall food intake. So I'm gonna go back to having 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in my water in the morning, and I'm not gonna care if people call me weird because it's doing something for me. It's been doing something for thousands of people that have watched my videos and who have talked about it. So I don't think we're crazy. Keep it locked in here on my channel. See you tomorrow.